Alright, so today is going to be a chatty video about my experience with The Wheel of Time, why I'm still reading it, what's it like for me, and this is like not quite a review. This is not me reviewing The Wheel of Time. I don't think that would be as useful. I don't know. It's definitely going to have some of the qualities that are in my review videos, but this is mostly me talking about my experiences, things that I like, things that I don't like, to maybe help you, especially as the show's coming out and there's all of this Wheel of Time hype, if it's a fantasy series that is worth your time, because it is long. It is 14 books. I have only read 6 of them, and there's a novella. Well, I don't even think it's a novella. There's a prequel story that is just significantly shorter than these very long books. So it's a big time sink. I have read 6 of them. So what has my experience been in these 6? And a lot of the books in the first 6 are many fans' favorite books. I do think a lot of them are like somewhere between books 4 and 6 is like their favorite book of the whole series. Which, like, for me, a little bit of a red flag. Maybe not for you, but for me, it's like, oh, I've already read everyone's favorites. That bodes questionably for me. So I think the first question I should answer is, am I enjoying myself? Yes. I've been reading this starting with The Dragon Reborn, so the 3rd book in the series, with my friend Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads. And that's been wonderful. And we also have Jade from Bedtime Bookworm, like kind of in our Voxer buddy read chat. So I have been reading it and actively talking about it with another human being who I really like and I consider one of my friends. That in itself is always a great experience. When I read the first 2 books by myself, which I knew those first 2 books would be containing a lot of tropes that aren't my favorite in classic fantasy, like Journey Quest, Chosen One. Well, I don't dislike Chosen One, but a lot of questing. I knew that would be there. I knew it would have like a writing style that's not my favorite. It's very descriptive, and it's descriptive in ways that aren't useful for my brain. And so the first 2 were kind of a chore because I was just by myself reading these books that I didn't really love, but I had no one at least to like bounce ideas off of. So I've been doing that, and I also switched after the 4th book, so after The Shadow Rising, when I had a lukewarm experience with a lot of people's favorite book in this series, I switched to audiobooks, because I'm like, maybe my issues with the writing style, which is a big issue for me that I'll talk about a little bit more, will be resolved when I go to the audiobooks, because I'm not putting in as much mental energy to try and consume these very long passages of description. And that has been working fantastic for me. I've read the 5th and 6th book completely with audio, not even immersion read, just all audio in my brain. And that's how I'm finishing the series. And for me, that's been my highest point of enjoyment. And I'll talk about also the pros and cons between physically reading versus audio for a series this involved this long for me so far. Like, what are the things that I've noticed maybe I'm not getting as much of, or whatever. So let's start positive. What have I liked besides the experience of buddy reading it with a very close friend of mine on the book internet? Well, the magic is really cool. You have like a soft magic system and a hard magic system, depending on if you're on this physical plane or there's kind of like a dream plane. There's lots of planes. That's also a cool part of it, right? Like, there is a lot that this magic can do, and we're with characters that are constantly trying to learn what the magic can do. We don't really have like an expert in world. Like, you have people who are more knowledgeable than others, but there's a lot that's been lost to time. So the discovery of new magic and relearning what magic used to be able to do in the Age of Legends, like, there's a lot of cool stuff. There are definitely moments where I'm like, ooh, that has ramifications. That's interesting. But they're kind of also few and far between. So as much as I like the magic, I've spent 6 books, and I really don't feel like I know as much as I should know with the word count that there has been, if that makes sense. Like, it's just, I've spent probably almost 7,000 pages, 8,000 pages of this series, and I know more, but like, I also really couldn't make like a Wheel of Time magic system explained video like I kind of could with Stormlight Archive. Like, Stormlight Archive is a very similar system where not many people know what's happening with the magic, and we're learning with the characters. There's not like a mentor situation, but like, I kind of know how the Stormlight Magic Archive system works, you know? So it's one of those things. So I like it. I wish I had more of it. It's kind of my thing for all of the things I like. I also like the world and its history specifically. And I'll be vague about its history because that is a cool thing to discover in the series as you read it. But again, this is a thing where when I'm learning about it, those are the parts of the book that I cannot put down. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is so interesting. I really like this. I love all these cultures. I love learning about how we got here. Like, there's some reveals in, I think, specifically the 4th book that I was like, that's so cool. But it was like 3 chapters in one book of the 6 books I've read so far. So, like, the ideas are fantastic. I just wish we focused on that more. Like, sometimes the focus of the book is not where I want it to be. The premise is epic. I like epic things. I like stories where a world is descending into a not good place. And that's what's happening here. Although the book kind of forgets to really tell you that. But, like, we are descending into probably an apocalyptic state. So the stakes are high. And I like that. And I really love reading this and seeing how a lot of my favorite modern fantasy has had influence from this. Like, from just like a whole reading a genre I love perspective, I like seeing, oh, this is what Brandon Sanderson meant when he was talking about his Chosen One character Flip-Flop in the Mistborn trilogy. I reread the Mistborn trilogy recently, and I've always loved the epigraphs before each of the chapters, but this time I was like, oh, this is a journal Brandon Sanderson thought was the Chosen One's journal in Wheel of Time. Does that make sense? Like, there were some things that were big light bulb moments for me in terms of the influences on many works that I love. So those are things that I like. I would like it to focus on those things more. Now, you'll notice as someone who's character driven a lot of times in their books that I haven't talked about characters being things that I like, which has been a struggle. I don't dislike them. Like, it's not that I dislike the characters. It's not like I'm like, you're a horrible person. I dislike the execution of these characters. Because I don't mind unlikable characters. I don't mind flawed characters. I love messy characters. Like, a lot. These characters, they're just not my favorite. I don't connect to them very well. It's better with the audiobooks. I am seeing some growth, but kind of like with the magic system, I've spent so many pages and so much time has happened in real world. Like, we're over a year, almost into 2 years of real world time. And these characters, some of them have these flaws that I know why they still have them. Like, I get how humans are. But it's still exasperating to read. And I'm not even talking about, like, some of the, like, internal tics that characters have. Although, as someone with a hair tic, like as someone who has anxiety related to hair, I don't really love, like, there's a part of me that's like, I love what one character does with their hair because that's very similar to what I do when I'm stressed. Like, I don't tug on my hair. There's a character that tugs on their braid a lot. If you know, you know. And I don't do it in videos, but like when I'm in a stressful group situation, I twirl my hair all the time. I have trichotillomania. I have an anxiety compulsive disorder where I pull my hair. Like, a lot of my mental health is expressed with how I relate to my hair. So this is one of the few characters in all of fiction I read that has that on page consistently, but it's also always doesn't feel like it's done with the gravity that I would want it to be done with. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I actually like this, but I also think it's done to the point where it's become a joke. Like, it's a joke, right? And like, I even make the joke. Like, it's not saying that the people are wrong to make the joke. That's just how the execution is done that it led to that, you know? Like, and maybe that's just all of us reading it made a mistake there, but there's a way you can handle things. And I just don't think that part of like the mental health really came across maybe how he intended. I don't know. And that's like a thing, like, I should like that character more than I do because she's a messy, strong character. But also, if I met her in the real world, I would not be her friend. I would not want to work on a group project with her. And that's the thing. Everyone wants to be the alpha in Wheel of Time. Everybody. Everybody thinks they are the person who has to do the thing. Like, everybody. And you can't all do it. Like, guys, it's the end of the world. Like, not everyone can solve the problem. Not everyone is the center of the universe. There's one person. We even have that in the world. There's a world-building thing. It's not you. You know, like, it's frustrating how many people are required to be the group leader. And I'm just like, you guys can't all be the group leader. Talk better. And that's another problem. Like, character relationships, which are a huge thing for me, are, like, I think secondary for Jordan a little bit. And what I mean is, when a male and female character interact, whether they are platonic, whether they are romantic, it does not matter. It is a very, boys are from Mars, women are from Venus, we are different species, men, women, like, all the time. And, like, that outdated gender theming on its own is exasperating to me, because it's so repetitive. It's over and over and over again. But also, like, men and women can just have relationships that, if you want them to be antagonistic, can be antagonistic for things outside of gender. Like, if I don't like a person, it does not have to do always with their gender. It could have to do with other things, but that's not what's on the page, and so that's those character relationships. And then when you do have within gender relationships, it's so weird. Like, you start with a group of people, and in theory, you're told they're friends. I don't read that at all. You're told these 3 boys have grown up together their whole lives? Okay. In my mind, if I hadn't been told that, I would have thought they were acquaintances at best. So, like, there's just a lot of weird things. And some of it I've come around to, like, oh, just culturally, this part of the world, that's just what they're like, and I wouldn't like to visit it. So some of it I've come around to, like, this actually is, like, really a part of the world building. I kind of see why these people are the way they are, but it doesn't mean that I love reading it. Does that make sense? Like, you know, because I do give it the benefit of the doubt. A lot of thought went into this. It's not like he just threw down words. He wasn't paid by the word. Like, he cared. And so I, as a reader, am trying to understand why things are the way they are. And even if there is a purpose, sometimes the intention can still annoy me. Like, I've talked with Jade about the gender theming, and I agree with what she says, that in theory, this book is saying the genders are actually better when they work together. Which, yes, when people work together, they can be better. And that's also shown in the frustrating everyone's trying to be their own small nucleus of problem solving. So, like, all of these frustrating things prove points that I do agree with. But that doesn't mean I like the execution. Like, I would just like sometimes people to talk. Like, just communicate. Just a little. So those are some things that, like, frustrate me a lot. And let's see. And then just general reading things. It's long. It is very long. Yeah, I mean, all of them are shorter than a Stormlight Archive, except maybe Lord of Chaos. Lord of Chaos might be Stormlight Archive length. But the pacing is always so weird to me. If you've read Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, it reminds me of that reading experience, except I really like the characters in Oathbringer. So remove the character love, and it was just like an experience where I didn't know where I was going for a very long time, and the book is very long. And that's how I feel in every Wheel of Time book. I pick it up, we start at some place, I don't know what we're going towards. Like, every book doesn't have an individual goal, which it doesn't need, but I'm 6 books in, and I don't feel like I've finished an arc. Like, every book just kind of ends. Sometimes it ends after a climactic thing, so, like, yay. But, like, even Lord of Chaos, it, like, felt so weird. It just ended. So every book I can see in hindsight maybe the pacing and the plot arc, you know, but while reading it, I feel very left to meander, which would be fun if I liked the characters and if the world focused on the things that I like in world building, but it hasn't been great. It's been okay, but that's for sure a thing for me. And then the writing style, as I said, is pretty descriptive, and descriptive in very list-like fashion. So it doesn't really evoke an atmosphere for me, and this is very subjective. Some people probably actually maybe get more of the atmosphere, but for me, it's very like, we're in this room, and on this room, there's a bedside table, and on that bedside table, there is this quill and this stack of paper and a cup. Like, it's very like that. And when you're like me and you don't visualize when you read, that's just a lot of words. And it's not like the cup on the table is an important thing you need to focus on. It's just adding to the description of the room, which is the author's right. But I'm used to when authors are focusing on details, the details needing to be focused on. So I would over-focus on a book that's already really long and takes a long time to read. And then I learned, oh, I don't need to focus in that much detail. If something's important, if I miss something, he will bring me back. So that's like a thing. And switching to audio has really helped. I still get the story. I actually have a better relationship to the characters now with the different voices that I think it's Redding and Kramer bring to the table. And like there are some things I miss. So, and I mean I miss it while I physically read too though. So I'm wondering if like it's even that much of a difference. But there's a lot of mini side arcs that happen, but they don't like I hesitate to say arcs, but in every book there's like 5 to 10 chapters where there are these random side characters that might exist in all books or not, but like you haven't seen them for like 600 pages. And you have to remember, oh yeah, this is the same guy who was in this part of this book I haven't read for 3 books. Like sometimes it's that long. Like sometimes it's a person you haven't seen for books. And I mean, unless you've been taking notes or you have like a spoiler-free way of looking things up, it's hard to connect the dots. And that's sometimes extra hard on audio because you don't have like the visual cue, you just have the auditory cue, so depending on how your brain works. But like, I was doing bad with that physically reading, so I don't know if that's that much of a difference. I've been enjoying the audiobooks a lot. That has for sure been the best thing for me. And I know a lot of people who really love reading them that way. There are a lot of names, there are a lot of words, so it might be good for like if you want to do the audiobook for your first read, like having Eye of the World next to you so you can like match up a pronunciation with a name, and there are glossaries at the end of each book and there are maps in them so you can like kind of have that. When I started at book 5, I already had a pretty good sense of like the world and the character names and the vocabulary, so like it was easier to fall into that. So maybe if you're just starting audio, that might be just like a good thing to like have around. But that's been my experience. It's not a horrible time. It's definitely not my favorite thing. It will never be a favorite thing. And if it's your favorite thing, I can see why. And you're probably having a fantastic time and I'm jealous. Like it's all I want. Like, whenever I'm reading books, all I want is to be having the best possible experience, which is why I've been trying to optimize and figure out how best to read the series. I know coming up is going to be meandering, to say the least. I'm hoping, actually, maybe parts of the slog I'll like more than other people, because maybe it'll focus on character relationships. Who knows? I'm not too concerned. I am very excited to get to the ones that Brandon Sanderson wrote because he's one of my favorite authors, and I have heard from someone who has had similar Wheel of Time experiences to me that it's something to look forward to. And I'm not here to say that you're in the wrong for loving everything I hate about it. Character connection's completely subjective. I mean, it's a series written in the 90s. It's really, for me to hold it to such a standard of gender theming of now isn't really realistic. I just hate the repetitiveness of that. But these are things that I can look past. It's mostly just like, these are the things that when the plot's not as engaging, I notice and think about. But that's it for this video. I don't think there's a Wheel of Time emoji. I know there is on Twitter, but I don't think there's one here. But there are wheels, so leave a wheel emoji if you just want to leave that. If you have any questions, I will gladly answer any of them. Feel free to kindly tell me why I'm wrong about anything. If anyone is at all mean in any way, I'm just deleting comments. I'm totally cool with debate and differing opinions. There are plenty of people who hate Brandon Sanderson in my Discord, and they are allowed to be there. So, but if there's anything like super rude or harmful, I'm just deleting it. So yeah. And also, if you're one of those fans of something that feels the need to be aggressively mean about something when someone doesn't love what you like, reconsider your priorities. It's fiction. Like, I'm never gonna tell someone something absurdly rude or mean if they don't love my favorite book series. So like, I don't know. Reconsider your priorities if you're someone who's like about to type something like that. Like, you could be doing something else with your time. Like, you could be talking to someone who loves the series instead of me. Like, that's a thing you could do. I feel like I have to disclaim that just because, like, most of the people who watch my videos are fantastic and they know who they are, but I'm nervous about if the YouTube algorithm's going to show this to people who don't know me. And, like, I'm just nervous, cautiously nervous about it. I'm hoping I'm still small enough that no one will notice that this exists and that this will be the helpful thing I hope it is for people who are really like, should I start this very long series? Which is a fair question to ask. But I do know, in every fan base, the majority of people are wonderful, and it's just the few who are a lot. And that exists in my favorite series as well. So, these are the things. But like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.